Good morning, good evening, and good night. Well, welcome to my channel. My name is Tristan, and today we're doing part 2 of looking at my favorite books from a Christian perspective. Last time in part 1 we did Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Harry Potter, and Percy Jackson. Now we're doing Diary of a Wimpy Kid spin-off, Diary of an Awesome Friendly Kid. A book written by the same author of Harry Potter, Ickabog, and the sequel series to Percy Jackson, Heroes of Olympus. So first we gotta check out Diary of an Awesome Friendly Kid. It's basically a book about Greg's best friend Rowley having his own journal. And he make his own journal until Greg forced him to share the journal with him and the adventures and all kind of wacky adventures. I have to say it's even wackier than the first Diary of a Wimpy Kid book. And it's all these kind of shenanigans. It's pretty slapstick and stuff. Pretty good comedy. I would say it's a little more childish than Diary of a Wimpy Kid, considering Rowley is a little more immature. However, it's a really fun read. It's very funny. I like it. And there's all kinds of stuff. Like, there's a different art style that Rowley draws people different than Greg. Where, as you can see, and then it all kind of slapstick humor, and Rowley and Greg basically goofing around, goofing off each other, and all kinds of drama. And the book kind of ends with Greg and Rowley get into a fight. However, because of Rowley's cope, I guess they're still best friends. One thing I find interesting is a book from Rowley's perspective. Greg is a lot more unhinged than he is in than the Diary of a Wimpy Kid books. And Rowley is, I'd say and I guess it could be that Greg has a different view of himself, and Rowley's kind of showing some truth on how Greg really is. I mean, he's similar, but a little bit worse. Now, unlike Greg, whose stories are more of a cautionary tale, I'd say Rowley is a very good role model, and he's a really nice kid. So yeah, like he says, an awesome friendly kid. So it's a really fun spin-off. And I have the other two books. However, I think this is not as as special as this one, because it's really a journal-like book, whereas the other books are just Rowley writing his own fictional stories. But that's okay. It's a really fun book. Like I said, it's a really fun book. From an entertainment and reading standpoint, I will give it an a 5 out of 10. And from a Christian standpoint, I will give it an 8 out of 10. So yeah, good book. Next we have the Ickabog. So the Ickabog is about actually, let's read the title. So basically, it's about a monster who is a monster. It's about the kingdom of Canopia, and they discover a monster that they call the Ickabog. And basically, it's a really big book, a very big story, and of course the main character is not the Ickabog, but two children named Daisy and Bert. Daisy and Bert, yeah. Them and their friends have to try discover the Ickabog. However, the Ickabog is not a monster, But well, I mean, she's a monster. However, she's actually not evil or anything. So they try and help the Ickabog. The Ickabog has two children, but at the end, the villain to the story, the corrupt king, kill the Ickabog, and the two babies are born, and one is good and one is violent. So in the end, the corrupt king is exposed and sentenced to jail, and uh, and like the book says, they lived happily ever after. So that's nice. Oh, and also this hold on, let me see. Let me show you what the Ickabog looks like. Well, let me find the best illustration of the Ickabog. Well, what I think is the best illustration. Yeah, this is what the Ickabog looks like. Big and furry. I think it's the best illustration. Fun fact, J.K. Rowling actually sent her fans to send illustrations. That's so cool. It's a good book about, I guess, not judging a book by its cover, with the Ickabog, of course, bringing light to darkness, and also corruption with the villain, Lord Spittleworth, and how he deceived the entire nation about the Ickabog, and how he caused so much evil. And then the Ickabog is a interesting character. We see that she's misunderstood and really just a mother, and she's carrying two children. So it's a really good book and a really good fairy tale. From an entertainment standpoint and reading standpoint, I would give it a 9 out of 10. And from a Christian standpoint, I would also give it a 9 out of 10. So some good Christian films there. Then we have this book, Heroes of Olympus: The Lost Hero. So like I said, the sequel series after Percy Jackson. This takes place after Percy defeated Kronos. And we have new protagonists named Jason Grace, Camp Leo Valdez, and Piper McLeod, and they're also demigods. However, Jason is a demigod from the camp Jupiter, and they are Percy, and in this book they basically have to rescue the stupid Greek goddess Hera, and from a giant, and in the end, Jason gets back his memories and realizes that Percy is at Camp Jupiter while he's at Camp Half-Blood. And then in the next books, it follows Percy meeting Frank and Hazel, who are Romans, and by the other books, the prophecy of the seven is formed with Percy, Annabeth, Jason, Leo, Piper, Frank, and Hazel, and yeah, so it's yeah, and then I haven't finished Heroes of Olympus yet. I'm on the fourth book, but this it's a good series. One thing I know is that Percy Jackson has Greek mythology, and this one continues with Roman mythology. However, it has Roman forms and the Greek gods, with both of them have like different forms, so that's kind of confusing. And like I said, as a Christian, I don't like the Greek pantheon, so I don't like the Roman pantheon either. I don't like any false gods. I'll tell you that. So but I don't think reading stories with pagan elements is a sin. In fact, I don't just use this as entertainment reading. I kind of use this as a study of mythologies, while also well, it's also a really good story. It's a really good story, and it definitely has Christian themes like adventure, finding out who you truly um, my only nitpick with the Heroes of Olympus series is that there's I wouldn't spoil it too much, but one of the characters comes out, if you know what I mean, and however, that's only like one part of the fourth book, so be careful when you're reading the series. But really, it's a really good series overall. And even though it has like Greek and Roman mythology, it does have its Christian themes about good versus evil. And if you remember that Jesus is the only God, you can probably get through all the pagan elements in Percy Jackson and the Heroes of Olympus. But like then again, it's a good book, as Christian themes about adventure and stuff. I don't know why the Percy Jackson fandom hates Jason's story in this book so much. I mean, like, I found him interesting. Um, I mean, Leo was funny. Leo was funnier though, but still, yeah. Um, I would give, from a entertainment and reading standpoint, I would have to give it a a 7 out of 10, and from a Christian standpoint, I would have to give it a 6 out of 10. So yeah, so this is my Christian perspective of my books. I have more books, but I haven't like read them yet. So I have to read them if you want a part 3 of this series. These are good books. And I definitely recommend them because they're a good read and a fun read, and they definitely do have some Christian themes or things Christians can learn from. Um, but then again, I always remember to read the best book, the Bible. So, anyways, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and God bless.